Hello everypony, my name is Hawk Nightwing, the most unapologetic Defender G5 you'll ever meet, and after what seems like an eternity since its predecessor dropped, My Little Pony: A Zephyr Heights Mystery, the second console game G5 has ever received, has officially released. Been a long time coming, honestly. I remember really liking Maritime Bay Adventure when it first came out a couple years back. I never actually played either game because I don't have a console system, and I'm not exactly the type of pony you'd call an international pro gamer. So I watched other people's gameplay of it to experience the story, and yeah, it was good. Were there some issues I had? Certainly, but that was enough to distract from what is arguably a much better Mickey Mark Chapter 1 than the actual Chapter 1, and it felt like a proper sequel to the movie as well. But that's all in the past. Now we got A Zephyr Heights Mystery, the sequel-ish to the first game that I guess also operates within Mickey Mark continuity, since Misty has her new main design and she wasn't in the original game? I don't know. But the question you all probably have is, was the wait worth it, and is it an improvement over Maritime Bay Adventure? Well, I'm proud to report that this actually is a huge improvement. And it's also good in its own right? So let's talk about it. I'm assuming many of you have already been in-date with countless gameplay videos about this game before you watch this video, but to those of you who haven't, here's a helpful reminder to kindly check it out before watching my video, as you will get spoiled. Just know that I do recommend it. You can always check back into this video after you're done. Seen it already? Alright, let's get into it. Special credit goes to YouTuber RRVirus for the footage I'll be using here. Before I get into the many positives, I want to acknowledge the flaws first. First off, the pacing in the first half is incredibly slow. Maybe it's just the gameplay I watch, but it takes forever for the story to get anywhere at first. The conflict is set up very early on with Sunny's friends vanishing almost instantaneously, but after that, it does take her a while to find them. This game is about 2 or 3 hours longer than the original at best, and man does it show. A lot of times this is a good thing as it helps add additional story content, but most of your time will be spent playing a ton of mini games that most of them end the same way, helping Pony sort out their magic and do his problems before she and Hitch find Izzy around the 1 hour and 25 minute mark. Then you don't find Pip until the 2 hour and 40 minute mark. Then you don't find Misty until the 4 hour mark, and yeah, I think you guys got the idea. All because some royal guards and construction workers don't recognize who Pip is for some reason and won't let her ponies into the castle, which is a choice. Let's put it like that. It feels like the story is stalling in some places because, well, people complained the first game was too short, so we gotta make it longer. It got so slow that I actually forgot we were looking for Misty for a good while. It's only when we find her later in the library that I remembered, oh yeah, that letter was a thing. Then there's the graphics, in which, yeah, it's an improvement over the first game, but marginally. I guess it all depends on what software you're using, because some other gameplay videos I found had, well, this abomination for the graphics. Thankfully, I'm using this footage, and judging by this version, yeah, it's a bit of improvement. I definitely feel like the shading is a lot better, but the CGI models are still very uncanny valley and don't look good a lot of the time. They're not horrible, but it does feel like you're watching some of those knockoff Disney bootleg movies at times, and that's a really bad sign. Still, if it's any consolation, the graphics are better than the first game, like I said. That's high praise coming from me, as I previously called them one of the worst aspects of a Maritime Bay Adventure's visual design. Here, there's at least more attention to detail in making the environmental textures look nice, and our characters do look better overall. You can definitely tell that this game was made with a higher budget than the original, judging by how everything looks, so credit where credit is due. Things do look better from an animation standpoint. Finally, there's the voice acting for Zip. The others are on point at best and Soldier's Will at worst, but I don't know what happened with Zip's voice here. It sounds off, like an impression of her voice from the show, but it feels wrong. Like it is her voice, but it's also not. You'll know what I mean when you hear it. It's hard to describe. Alright, that's enough of me being mean. Didn't I say this game was pretty good or something? Yeah, let's get back to that. Because in spite of all the flaws I just mentioned, I actually really like this game. First of all, there's the creativity with the mini-games. There's a lot more variety to them, you can do a whole lot more. In spite of my gripes with them taking out the bulk of the story, each mini-quest takes full advantage of the city's environment, and is tailor-made for whatever item we need to fetch. This also means a ton of new mini-games to try, such as cleaning up the Zephyr Heights castle, little exploration in dungeons, and a whole ton of stuff to do around the city. What especially helps this is the fact you can play as different characters. The skill sets for each of the main 6 were very unique, different making them feel like an organic part of the story instead of just different modes. For example, Pip can summon clouds for her to jump on using her wings, and Hitch can ram into things using his strength. These are very unique skills and help add dynamic to the overall experience. When you select a character, you really become that character. It's not just Sunny with a different skin, and I really like the extra touch. Not only that, the fact that each of our main characters has something substantial to contribute to the narrative rather than just being background fodder until they're needed is really nice. In a Maritime Bay Adventure, I never really felt like there was much for the remaining main 5 to do. They just showed up to give side quests and they were somewhat relevant in the third act. Here, that's not the case. Instead, everyone gets a huge role to play, and they're all active characters just like Sunny. There's one point where Misty uses her magic to locate Sparky after keeping an eye on him for a while, and I thought that was a nice addition. It ties into the fact she's learning magic in the show itself, and that's true to her character. Hitch also has a direct link to Sparky, which helps add a very heartfelt element. And Pip has an entire selfie minigame where she takes photos of stuff to show the construction worker pony. That was a pretty clever way of utilizing the social media aspect for a character and having it fit in the overall story. It also feels like this game utilized G5's world and side characters a whole lot more. We still have one-off background ponies asking us for things, but Queen Haven is there and has a small role in the narrative. We spend a lot of time in the castle, and not only that, but you can actually go back to Maritime Bay and play some minigames there, which feels like a great callback to a Maritime Bay adventure. You can also decorate the Crystal Bright House using whatever furniture you want, which is something I'm sure a lot of us asked for last time. Overall, this game utilizes a lot more locations than the first game, and every set piece is used to great effect in some form or another. The story is also a whole lot more interesting as well, being a magical mystery and all. There's great build-up as Sparky's rampage gets worse and worse, and you see the effects of it on the townsfolk, such as them floating or items being transformed into food. The team really do a good job of having the small tasks tie into the grander story, helping to stick with every major plot beat. What I feel really helps this game's overall story is the longer runtime. I know I criticized the length when it came to pacing, but that's all because of the lack of plot present at first. When we are advancing the plot, however, that's a completely different ballgame. Being centered around a mystery, the overall story is used to great effect once we do catch up with everyone. We see how the missing items from the other ponies tie into what's happening around the city, the slow build-ups to reveal it as Sparky behind everything, this being explained to the nature of the magical anomalies, and how the situation just gets worse and worse the longer the conflict persists. Everything's in service of the story no matter what it is, even if it may not seem like it at first. Quests that initially may seem pointless ultimately are essentials to end with another anomaly being fixed, and we're one step closer to solving the mystery itself. The longer runtime allows for more story content to be packed in, and as a result, you have a lot more time to be immersed in this world, which is always a good thing. Then there's the pacing later on in the second and third acts, which is a huge upgrade to how it was the majority of the time. After Sparky's revealed to be the culprit, the pacing picks up a bit, and once we're at night and the gala's about to begin, the plot goes into full swing. It really feels like there's a ticking clock to catch Sparky before he gets out of control again. It's another chase climax like the first game, but one that feels more personal as you see how much Hitch cares for Sparky and sticks up for him, even as he's causing all this chaos. I'm also going to extend some major bonus points to this game for having a Sparky being sick premise that doesn't actually suck this time around. I didn't think I ever wanted a premise like this again after Season 1 of Hard Tail utterly massacred my boy, but they actually pulled it off really well here. It's pretty nice having that be the twist, and it leads to a sweet resolution with Sunny giving him a smoothie to make him feel better. Was that a bit predictable? Sure, but is it wholesome? Oh, absolutely. And that's what makes it work. Sprout's reformation in the Maritime Bay adventure was stronger thematically, I will admit, but this resolution still wrapped up everything in a really nice way, even if we never did get to see the gala itself. Overall, yeah, I really enjoyed this game. Is it perfect? Oh, absolutely not. I'd be lying if I said a couple things didn't irk me, and I basically listed all the problems I had already. But that's not enough to take away from what I consider to be a massive improvement over the first game, and a good game in its own right. Everything from a better story, a lot more creativity and variety with the minigames, the characters being used a lot more effectively, extra features, unique skill sets, better use of the world, so on and so forth, all contribute to an overall superior experience. If you're someone who felt the Maritime Bay adventure was lacking in certain areas, then I would definitely recommend playing this follow-up, as it does redeem a ton of elements. Ultimately, it's flawed for sure, but the good elements outweigh the bad in my opinion, and you will enjoy playing this game. Personally, I'm just glad the Make and Mark art style still lives on in some capacity to these games. With G5 now focusing on Terry Till and 2D animation, it is nice to see these ponies in their native CGI forms. And it's also nice to see G5 getting so many games in general. Console games are things that G4 never got, and it's another example of Hasbro just putting in a lot of effort into this generation and genuinely caring about it. Contrary to what you may hear people say. I honestly hope we get more games like this, providing this one does well. So 7.5 out of 10. Sure, why not? That sounds about right. If you have $40 just randomly sitting in your pocket for you to spend, then yeah, I recommend you play it yourself. You don't actually need to play the first game in order to understand this one, as there are literally no story references to it. You're completely safe in that regard. But if you don't have that much money to spend and you're someone living paycheck to paycheck, then I wouldn't recommend playing either of the games, as there's really nothing extraordinary in any of them to warrant you losing that much cash. Just watch some walkthroughs like I did and you'll be fine. Both games are primarily made for fans, people who have money and countless hours to grind away, and whether or not either game is worth it for you depends on whether or not you are that type of person. But what do you all think of Zephyr Heights Mystery? Feel free to let me know in the comments below. If you are new here and you want to see more, then feel free to drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel to be updated on future content. We analysts appear to be a dying breed in the community, as mindless hate videos are all the rage, so your contributions make a huge difference in helping me grow. Until next time, this is Hawk Nightwing signing out. Hoof to heart.